What up, everybody? It's your boy, Pyro Slays Music, and today I'm doing a quick review on the debut album of the Velvet Underground featuring Nico. Now, a lot of you might be surprised to see me listening to an album that dropped back in '67. And I've been pretty verbal with music from the 60s, production and sound wise, just typically not being my thing. I've tried over the years and really kind of failed, but this past year I wanted to make a real attempt. I decided to go into the history of some of my favorite music currently, which is punk. And I saw this was considered art rock or proto-punk. And I also saw Lou Reed is in this band, and that's someone I've heard a lot about over the years. Also had no clue that he was in the Velvet Underground, so I was really clueless going into this album. The way I found Lou Reed was through references, and unfortunately, the Megadeth release of Lulu, and that was not a great intro to him. So I was a little worried coming into this album. I was like, obviously, it's a huge gap in between when those things came out, but I just remembered not being a giant fan of that collab. So I came into this with an open mind, kind of planning and not liking it, but I wanted to understand where a lot of the music that I enjoy came from and kind of understand the sound. And I came out like really, really digging this. I was shocked. There's some really nice poppy tunes, like from like the the 60s. I would call it pop, at least for the time. And then there's a lot of experimental stuff, especially later on in the album. Black Angels, Death Song, European Sun. I enjoyed the entire mix of this. I like the poppy tracks that kind of brought you in, and then you had some like weird mesmerizing sounds on the other tracks. I think the best song on this album, though, for me was Heroin. 7-minute track. Did not expect to come into this loving it. But the genius behind this song it's a 10. This song is a 10. There's no getting around that song not being a 10. I listened to it, and while I'm not a drug user, hard drug user, I should say. We all we use drugs throughout the day, whether it be caffeine or whatever, right? So a hard drug user, I am not. And listening to this, I thought it was so cool. You have the drum beat using that mesmerizing heartbeat style, and then you had the guitars that were like the frantic addiction, and it was unreal. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times since, and like I've never had a piece of music hit me in a way that I felt the story of this. Like, I felt like I was in on the experience. And that's in a bad and a good, like a good and a bad way. As we get on, the song gets harder and harder to listen to, more frantic. The singing is farther in the background. Like, I really, really think this is an impressive track. And then lyrically, I imagine this is rather polarizing from a band that's dropping this in '67. So I mainly really wanted to make this video talking about Heroin because I was blown away by it. But I loved the gritty, weird, odd sounds that were used here. I think I came out of this more impressed with the drums than anything. Like the beats, while were simple, and I did read a little bit about the drummer who is escaping my name currently. I'll look here in a second, but I know she had said at one point that her opinion was that drummers were kind of just there to keep the tempo, and I feel like she brought a lot more to the table than just doing that. And Maureen Tucker, excuse me. And I thought that was really interesting. There's some genius drum stuff on here, especially for like how simplistic it is. I read up a little bit on Maureen Tucker, and I did see that she's kind of considered like a minimalist, a drum minimalist, and but very high ranked in the drummer world, even though it's more of a minimalist style. And I gotta say, I was really, really loving it. I could see where some of the punk sound that I really love came from there. While a lot of this album is really 60s sounding, that's not a bad thing. Like, I vibed with this album. I've listened to it 3 times, front to back, since my initial listen. And yeah, I just gotta say, this album blew me away, especially for a 60s album. I've struggled all my life to get into 60s. I could get into the 70s music a little bit more, but even that was pushing it with some of the stuff. It just kind of was too, I don't know, a lot of the organ sounds. It just was really off-putting to my young brain. But as I've gotten older, and especially tried to explore the sonic textures that that are out there. I think this is much more digestible than, let's say, the Red Crayola and All Who Sailor Seas, or God Bless, excuse me, the Monks, or what was the other one I listened to? The Sonics. Though the Sonics were probably right in this range of listenability for me. So this one I can guarantee you I'm coming back to, and I really enjoyed. In my personal opinion, I feel that this album is deserving of a 9. And honestly, let's be honest here. If we're not talking my personal opinion on the album, the feeling, this could easily be considered a 10 because of all the music that it's inspired. So while I was tempted to go with just a freaking 10 right off the rip, I think my heart says 9. And that's more so just because of my taste. There were several tracks on this album, especially the last 2, that just I couldn't wrap my head around. But again, like for an experimental piece, like this is awesome. I think I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10 here. And let me know what your guys' thoughts or opinions are on this, and what your favorite tracks are. Also, do we share the same opinion on the song Heroin? Thoughts and opinions down below. I'm Pyro Slays Music. I appreciate you guys listening as I sling my thoughts and opinions out into the void that is the internet. I will see you next time.